Hi everyone, my name is Carrie Armstrong and I'm Vice President of Premier Agent Strategy and Operations here at Zillow Group. We've heard all of your questions about Premier Agent and the improvements that we've rolled out to the program, and I wanted to take a moment to answer some of them, both personally and then with some assistance from Premier Agents who've already figured things out and have some lessons they want to share with you. The first question is, what's it been like to have Zillow answer your phones? What's the benefit? How have you adjusted? And for an answer to that, I'd like to turn to Parker Pemberton in Apple Valley, Minnesota, to share what it's been like for him.
This was the toughest part, and I'm sure something you're going to hear a lot from your teams is we had to adjust our entire lead flow and lead generation system. We went to lead shifts, so we have 11 agents. Started 7 days a week. It's 9 to noon, noon to 3, 3 to 6, and 6 to 9. Somebody's in front of a computer, in front of a phone, in front of their CRM, has MLS up, etc. And when that phone rings, they are answering it on the spot. And we've had 100% response rate so far, or answer rate, I should say, which has been really great.
So what feedback have you gotten from consumers? What's it been like to pick up where Zillow leaves off? And for that, I want to turn to Bob Murphy from Indiana to share his experience.
Actually, that's really a smooth transition. When Zillow hands a lead over to our agents in the live transfer, the lead just assumes that we're all part of the same team, which of course we are, and that it makes that transition for that client, for that lead really to become a client, so much easier. They just think it's part of the program. So we're really, really pleased with what we're getting from the live transfers at Zillow.
The next question is, my team already answers all of our calls. Why do we need this? We know that many of you have invested to make sure that you can get back to home shoppers quickly. That was an advantage for you in the past, and it will be an advantage for you in the future too. When you're at the top of the list and we call you, your agents are going to answer. And that's great. That will get you your share of voice. But when we call another agent in the zip and they don't answer, we have to get someone on the phone. And that's going to be you. Your great setup is going to let you get served more than your fair share. The agent in your zip who doesn't answer the phone is going to be subsidizing you. And that actually works at cross zips too. So if we call every agent who advertises in a zip and no one answers, we call agents who are advertising in other zips. We look at your service areas to figure out whether you should be one of these, so make sure that those are up to date. And in case you're skeptical about how often that happens, please don't be. There are lots of agents out there who don't answer their phones at all. A lot. And their connections will be going to you. So this system works to your advantage. It's in your interest to be in the system so that we can route you not just your connections, but also the ones from agents who don't answer their phones. Next question, will there ever be a way to opt out so that my leads come directly to me? When consumers don't pick an agent, we are going to take responsibility for finding one for them, using share of voice as our guide. But when they do pick an agent, when they pick you on the contact form, when they call your direct number, when it's on your featured listing, in those cases, it's up to you how the lead is handled. If you want to be in concierge, we can handle follow-up for you and try to set up a connection. But if you're not in concierge, if that's not for you, the lead will go straight to your inbox or straight to your phone, and it's up to you. You can opt into or out of concierge for leads where the consumer picks you. But for the rest of your leads, as I mentioned, it's in your interest to be part of the system. We're doing this for you too. If you have a great answer rate, you are going to be overserved in the system, because there are lots of agents out there who don't, who answer their phone not 50% of the time, but 25% or less. Isn't this going to wipe out our strategic advantage? Oh, that's a tough question. The answer is actually really simple. No. You wouldn't believe how many agents out there don't answer their phones. You guys are going to mop up all of those connections. So what about your ISA? What is the role of the ISA in this model? And I know not everyone uses an ISA, and some have actually changed and added one or taken one away with this improvement to Premier Agent. So I want to talk through some of the things to think about and then get some perspective. So what I think is key here is we've gotten the consumer excited to talk to someone who can help them with their search. We don't want to disappoint them by handing them off to someone who can talk to them but can't really help them. They're ready for help. So think about how you staff your phones. Some of our most successful customers actually put their best agents on answering the phones. Sometimes it's even themselves. But I think what's key is whoever answers needs to move the home search forward for the consumer. They need to go deeper than we've already gone. They can't just ask 2 screening questions and say, we'll get back to you. That's not going to help you convert your leads. For someone who knows how to convert leads, I want to turn to Robbie from the Hatch team.
Honestly, it hasn't really changed it much. The Zillow Concierge program is just simply filtering the leads. All it's doing is calling or talking to these folks, and they're asking some very basic questions and vetting the lead. And in our world, our ISAs don't just vet leads. What they do is they call individuals, or in this case, when they get connected via concierge, they're having a conversation to build a connection. And the whole goal is to find out what somebody needs, wants, or desires, and then align that with our company's vision to help them get what they need, want, or desire.
Next question. I've been using a third-party CRM to route my leads, and now you want me to use Premier Agent routing rules. Why would I do that? What happens if I don't? Great question. So you don't have to use our routing rules if you don't want to, but there are some reasons why it's beneficial, and I'd love to share those with you now. One of the key benefits of using our routing rules is that we know who answered the phone, and that means that we can show the right agent's face on My Agent, so that when the consumer comes back to our brand site, they see the face of the person they connected to over the phone, which really helps confirm that relationship. The other thing we can do is when we start to reach out to consumers to ask for feedback on the interaction, we know who the feedback is about, and we can tell you not just how your team is performing in aggregate, but who your stars are. To share a little bit about how he thought about switching over to Premier Agent routing rules, David Marks from Seattle.
In the past, as a team leader, I'd have to filter through every lead that came through and then pass those leads on to my team. But now that happens automatically, and based on price point and location, those leads go automatically to my team without me having to spend time disseminating those leads out. So this has been a great time saver for myself. It also allows me to easily adjust the leads and where they're going based on my team's success and conversion rate. So it's been a fantastic change for me, and I'm looking forward to continuing with it in the future.
To share how she's thought about who answers her phone, here's Amy Murkowski from Ohio.
We're tweaking a little bit when it comes to our team. Our transaction coordinator is now kind of doing both that of a transaction coordinator, but also filling in as an inside sales associate as well. So she is working as our ISA in the event that I'm not available or one of our other buyer's agents not available. So we definitely have that broadcast set up so that we have making sure that we're capturing all the opportunity to connect with those live consumers as they are available.
I want to encourage you to check out our routing rules and see if they do meet your needs. Of course, if for some reason you don't think that they do, please let us know. We're always looking at enhancing them, and we want your feedback. Next question. How is it that sometimes when I get a call, the consumer turns out not to be available after all? I know some of you have experienced this. We don't really like it, and we know you don't like it either, so we're actually evolving our workflow in response to your feedback to make this happen as rarely as it possibly can. Please expect the incidence of this to go down pretty substantially. On that same topic, I know many of you are asking, how long does the consumer wait on the phone to get an agent? So on average, it takes us 70 seconds to get an agent on the line, and we think that we're going to be able to drive that down. But for the most part, the consumer isn't waiting on hold while we do that. More often than not, what happens is this. We confirm that the consumer is available for a call by text, and then we call you and tell you about the consumer. And when you're ready, we then call the consumer and conference them in. So the process of finding an agent isn't one where the consumer is sitting on the phone waiting. Sometimes that's the case if we happen to get them by phone, but most of the time it's not, and our average time to find an agent is actually quite short. So what will happen to leads that aren't ready to talk to an agent? We stay in touch with them indefinitely. We follow up by SMS, by email, and by phone to see if their situation has changed. And then on top of that, we watch what they do on our sites to look for behavior that indicates that might have happened, that we should step up our efforts to reach out because they're especially likely to now be ready for an agent. So we keep after them until this changes, until they're ready to talk to you, and then we introduce them to you by phone just the same way we would for a brand new lead. Okay, so one that came up is what happens when you enter a new zip code. So our systems pace you to get your share of voice, not at a particular instant in time, but over 30 days. You can think about it this way. We're always pacing you to keep you on track over that time period to get your share of voice. So when you enter a new zip code, you're coming in at a kind of neutral position. You don't have a history over the past 30 days of needing to get connections in that zip code. So you're not going to be overserved or underserved, but other agents in the zip code might be. You will be behind the agents who are underserved and ahead of the agents who are overserved. That means you're going to be in the middle in kind of a neutral position. But the longer you're advertising in the zip code, the more you'll accumulate history, the more you'll bounce up and down from being overserved to underserved, and our systems will work to keep you on pace, to keep you properly served. So that's the answer. And I know that's not the norm for folks to switch zip codes a ton, but if you are somebody who likes to move around, just know that that's the case. We start you fresh when you enter a new zip code, and that puts you in the middle, and then you go up or down based on your answer rate. Many of you have asked, what should you expect as far as conversion and ROI? So to answer that question, I'd like to turn to DJ De La Sala from Florida.
I think the conversion expectation has to go up because we're getting somebody that's actually raising their hand. So, I would expect at least a 30% jump. Not only that, I think the mindset of the team's going to be better because they're not always answering the phone with the expectation of, oh gosh, who's this going to be on the other line? I think they're ready, willing, and excited to pick up the phone now.
For another perspective on conversion and ROI, here's Lori Reeder from Florida.
Our expectations is that our agents are going to answer 100% of the time. And the expectation is that we will raise our conversion rate at least 25% more than what we are already converting. So we've got big expectations. Again, we know this is a process. We are working really closely with our Zillow rep and with Zillow, and we are really excited to see our conversion numbers skyrocket.
David Marks from Seattle has been in the program for a while and so has some data that he can share about how things are working out for him.
With respect to conversion rates, I've been really pleased with the success we've had with the live connections. Over the last 2 months, about 25% of the live connections have actually become clients of ours, whereas in the past, perhaps 2 to 5% of the leads that have come through, we were able to convert, which is higher than probably the industry standard, but it took a lot of work to make that happen. The other 25% of the leads that we've been connected to are actually still engaged with us. They're not yet ready to buy, but I expect they will be soon. So for us, it's been a phenomenal change. We're excited about it. We're ready to invest more in Zillow because we see that the return on investment is going to be dramatically higher than it was in the past.
Thanks so much for listening. Those are all of the common questions that we've gotten from agents and teams. If you have other questions we didn't address, please send them to paquestions@zillowgroup.com. And let us know also if this format is valuable for you. We're happy to do more of these, whatever it takes to help you be set up for success as we make these improvements to Premier Agent.